A lot of talent, Ring of Honor back then. Let me mention a few guys. Just tell me real quick what you think of them, what it was like to work with them, or just
Sure.
whatever comes to mind. Samoa Joe.
Uh, Joe always presented himself as like king shit right out the bat, like almost like a father figure. Even at 22 or 23, he's just like his presence was like, and that it's like of no surprise. I mean, he was a star right away coming in, and I think that comes from, and I think you'll understand this is he came from UPW where it was all like WWE and big stars and like this is how the business works, brother. This is how the business works, brother. And
Right.
so when coming into a new place, he was just like, I'm very comfortable with wrestling. I've wrestled in Japan. This is kind of what I do. And so he held that kind of confidence.
Right.
And I think that confidence really helped him become the star that he was right away in Ring of Honor because he wasn't like, yes, sir, no, sir. He was like, nah, this is my shit. This guy Loki seems to want to fuck me up. Well, I'm going to fuck him up. And then, like, they had these legendary
Yeah,
matches
that's
where I
awesome.
think a lot of people would back down to Loki at the time
Right.
because same thing. He had this confidence, was just like, hey, I do what I do. And everyone's like, oh my God. And so Samoa Joe was kind of the same way. And you know what? And an extremely nice person and so generous and giving and kind. And I think those are the coolest kind of people is like, they're not demanding the respect. You just respect them because they're respectable. They don't
Right.
have to be like respect me. It's just like they are who they are, but you respect them because of what they do and how they do it.
Austin Aries.
Um, Aries was a Midwest, so like Aries was a Midwest guy who was trying, who was like maybe a step back behind some of us. That first class, he was like the second class, and so I watched him on the early Midwest shows, and I watched him on Ring of Honor try to get a spot,
Hmm.
like on the early like dark match and tryout matches,
Right.
and just worked hard, and was also very confident in like, hey, I think I'm good at this, and he proved himself, and he was like he was an amazing wrestler, and yeah, he earned his spot and was earned his he earned like all the accolades he deserved, and like when he became the champion, I was as someone who was like a real giant flag holder for Ring of Honor at the time. I wasn't like, oh no, this is a bad champion. I was like, oh, nice. I like this booking idea. That's great. Good call.
Right. Chris Daniels.
Um, earlier I mentioned you and Lance or Devin, and I mentioned Reckless, and so and Chris is right there, like a little
Right.
teenage me looking on the internet, finding Garage Wars APW on a 64 like WinX, whatever it is, like little video, and seeing the one of the original independent wrestling hustlers. And when I talk to Chris about it, especially years ago, like, was this your plan? And he was like, no, I was just wrestling. Like, I thought he was like, I'm making it my job. So, I am the number one independent wrestler. I am the Woo top 50 wrestler or whatever it was at the
Right.
time. And, he was just doing his thing. And so, cause, like my plan was like, I'm going to try to be the number one independent wrestler, whatever it is. But he was just doing it, trying to make a living, trying to be the best he could as a wrestler, trying to get, I think trying to get to WWF or WWE at the time and landed with WCW. So, he's just someone I really admire back then and still do to this day.
I'm going to ask you about Brian Danielson, but before you do, I'm going to tell you a quick story. It had to be, I'm going to say 1999, 2000. Um, Gary Capetta. You know Gary Capetta? The,
Yes,
so
I do.
yeah, so Gary lived down the block from me, down next town over from me, and you know John Walters.
Yes, I do.
So John Walters and Brian
They were
Danielson,
buddies. Oh,
yeah, we're going to Gary's house after a show for dinner. So he said, "Come on over." So I went over. I was like my second time meeting him, and this was early Brian Danielson. I mean, like he looked like he was 12 years old, you know.
yeah.
So I'm talking to him, and he's just talking about wrestling, and he's so passionate. And all I could think of is this guy is so passionate about wrestling. He loves it so much. It's a shame he's never going to make a dime in the
Ah,
wrestling business. Right? I mean, come on, you know, you got to. he was like 140 pounds, and
Yeah,
that's what I thought. And holy crap, was I wrong?
that's so funny. I remember the NBA McDonald's All American games for basketball. I don't know if you're into basketball at all.
No,
Well, it's like the best high school players in the country. They and then they come and they play the NBA the McDonald's All American games, and it's kind of like it's a showcase of all the best players of high school. And it was happening at our high school, and I remember like seeing Kevin Garnett, and he was like showing off, and I was just like this guy thinks he's the best. It's too bad he's never gonna, like. And Kevin Garnett went up to be a Hall of Famer, and just this is him at 17. I was just like, this
right.
guy's not that good. Yeah, boy was I wrong. Yeah, Brian. You can watch Brian. I put out Brian and I put out a documentary called The Wrestling Road Diaries, in 2011, filmed in 2009, right before he went to WWE, where we were both just like, um, well, I had just come back from being fired by WWE, and he was about to be hired by WWE. But it was like this love letter to the independents, which we thought we would be on forever, of what it is and what it was like, and again 150. I was doing 150 shows, at one point, 200 shows a year. Like that was my job. I took it very serious. I was an independent wrestler. I was going to get as many wrestling shows as I possibly could. I loved the life, and that's what I wanted to be. And I didn't think it was documented well anywhere, and so we did. And yeah, in that movie, I mean, we kind of tell all about the lifestyle and how it works, and we show how it works too. Sleeping on fans' floors, and and trying to sell our merch and all that stuff. So, Brian, Brian didn't have the same like cockiness that like a Joe did, or or a low key. Like he's just always been like a sweet, kind guy, and I think maybe fans just he was just so undeniable. They call about being just be undeniable. He was so undeniable at being a wrestler that he was a slow burn for everyone. I always thought I was a slow burn wrestler too. Like, just let me in the door and let me like be fun and funny, and eventually, like, people will really enjoy me as a performer. Uh, that's as a performer and a showman. Brian, I think, was more of just like how skilled he was,
Right.
and he became a very good performer too from those years too. We did the same British Butlins camps. I think he did it the year before, but then we would meet. We would keep going back to these camps because they were so fun. It was like it was these they called them or they were Butlins camps, so they called them camp shows where it's like if you can imagine like a low rent Disneyland where families go, or like a kiddie land, and they put on wrestling every single day. They have a couple shows every day, and you're just the wrestlers. No one knows who you are, but you're the local entertainment. And so we would go and do that, and you do that every day, you just become undeniable. You're just doing reps and reps of wrestling in front of people
Right.
and learning how to manipulate and learning the skill of manipulation, not in a bad way, in the performance way. And so we both did that. Hero did that. Chad Collier did that. A lot of us did that in order to like kind of like become good wrestlers. And so he did that too. And yeah, I mean, he was a leader too from the very beginning, and he didn't want to be a leader. He, in a perfect world, he wouldn't be, but uh, it was just he had to be. He was so good, and he did. He led that company for a long, long time, even when everyone started leaving. No one really wanted him, and so he would stick around, and he would try to do his best to be the captain of that ship. And a lot of us worried. It's kind of funny. A lot of us worried when he went to WWE. A lot of people thought Colt Cabana was made for WWE. When I went there, everyone's like, "Oh, he'll do great," and then it's like, "Oh, Brian, good luck. Let's pray they don't
Right.
you don't screw him up." And
Right.
that kind of got flip flopped.